Welcome to CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Parthankar. Lots to discuss today and take you through, and so we'll start straight away with another subcompact SUV, the Renault Kiger. Yes, that name will take some getting used to, but there's so much to talk about here because it's a very crowded, very competitive segment, and I know you have lots of questions about this car. Kingshuk Datta spent time with it in Goa and has all the answers.
There is definitely something alluring about the subcompact SUV segment in India. A lot of car manufacturers want a piece of the action, and so does Renault. Barely months after the launch of the Nissan Magnite, has Renault come up with its own subcompact SUV, the Kiger.
Yes, I refer to the Magnite because the Kiger is underpinned by the same CMF A+ platform which is also present on the Triber and the Magnite. The Kiger is to the Magnite what the Sonet is to the Venue, brother from another mother, if you will. With the coming of the Kiger, you have 9 subcompact SUVs to choose from. So, we tell you whether this car is worth your consideration or not.
Straight off the bat, the Renault Kiger comes across as a handsome SUV. Renault did well to offer a very distinct look on the Kiger, one which is suave and typically European. I mean, the front end, while busy, is neatly done, especially the wing-shaped grille, sleek LED daytime running lights and the low-mounted tri-cube LED headlights. Quite stylishly done. Then, you have the cool-looking bumper, a skid plate and that butch-looking sculpted bumper at the rear. Swing your way to the profile, the 16-inch alloy wheels look stylish, housed in square wheel arches. Then you have the black cladding all over and the roof rails hugging the slightly sloping roofline. Well, Renault is calling it an SUV coupe. Make of it what you will. At the rear, you have these C-shaped LED tail lights, muscular haunches on the rear wheels, a thick blacked out seat pillar and an integrated rear spoiler.
So yes, the Kiger is a handsome looking car, and we are happy to tell you that the cabin itself is done quite nicely. Yes, there is a lot of plastics, the quality is decent, it could have been better, and the dashboard has this layered feel to it, but it doesn't look quite busy. The steering itself, it feels chunky to hold, and behind the steering is a digital 7-inch instrument console. It has changeable skins, so that's one cool thing. The party piece here is this 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which gets wireless smartphone connectivity, borrowed from the Magnite of course, and overall you get this sense of space inside the cabin. Straight off, there is a nice commanding view of the road from the driver's perch, because the ride height of the Kiger is slightly on the taller side, and that's a good thing. It gives you that SUV-ish feel, so that's a good point. And we are driving the 1-liter turbo variant of the Kiger. There's a 5-speed manual gearbox. This model also has a CVT option, but today we are driving the 5-speed manual with the 1-liter turbo engine. As far as the engine is concerned, it isn't the most refined unit out there, but it isn't bothersome either. There's the slightest hint of turbo lag right at the bottom end. But again, you wouldn't notice it that much really. What is more glaring is the lack of punch at the top end, because this is a low displacement engine, and right at the top end when you're like doing triple digit speeds, you don't have that kind of punch that you would need if you're driving on the highway and if you want to overtake a slow moving vehicle. So that's one thing. And the NVH levels, they're quite contained, so you do have that sense of refinement inside the cabin. But the engine itself, it's a 3-pot unit, so like I told you earlier, it's not the most refined engine that's out there. Renault has nicely tuned the suspension on the Kiger. It's a plush riding car and it soaks up all the bumps, undulations quite nicely. And that is something the Kiger has in common with other Renault cars on offer. Apart from that, as far as handling is concerned, the feedback from the steering is slightly low. It feels dead. Of course, it's an electronic steering. But what you do have rather are 3 driving modes, which are normal, eco and sport. So we spoke to Renault engineers and they say that depending on the mode you choose, the sensitivity of the throttle and the weight of the steering, they differ. Of course, if you are selecting the sport mode, then the steering weighs up nicely and the throttle is a little more sensitive, and so on and so forth when you toggle between the normal and eco modes. The handling of the Kiger is not exactly great. If you do want to go corner carving, you would like to do it at a sedate pace, not quite fast, because the Kiger has pronounced body rolls. And apart from that, yes, it does offer a good driving experience. So that way, the overall driving experience of the Kiger is quite nice.
The Renault Kiger has an unladen ground clearance of 205 mm, which is at par with other SUVs in the segment. When Renault said it is going to price the Kiger aggressively, the company meant it. With a starting price of 5,45,000 rupees and the top spec model priced well below 10 lakh rupees, the Kiger gets its pricing spot on. With starting prices considered, it is the most affordable subcompact SUV in the segment. In fact, the top spec turbo models of the Kia Sonet and the Hyundai Venue are more than 2 lakh rupees expensive than the top variants of the Kiger.
I mean, look at the overall package. Handsome looks, decent driving experience, and features that are adequate enough. The value for money quotient with the Kiger is quite high, thanks to its excellent pricing and enough trim options to choose from. Yes, the subcompact SUV space is really crowded in India, but the Kiger has what it takes to jostle around and make some space for itself.
The Mahindra Thar has been a household name among off-road enthusiasts in India. With the launch of the second generation model, the Thar has become an instant success, garnering over 20,000 bookings in just about 20 days. It is now more than a lifestyle SUV, and it comes with a host of modern feature comforts that appeal to a wide range of customers. The new Thar is built on an advanced ladder-on-frame platform that has made it a far more superior product. In fact, it has bagged a 4-star safety rating from Global NCAP. Mahindra now offers it in 2 options, an adventure-focused AX series and lifestyle-oriented LX series. Visually, it stays true to its heritage and continues to be a boxy 3-door model. It's bigger now and much well built also. In addition to the convertible soft top roof, the Thar gets a fixed hardtop for the first time. Also, for the first time, the Thar comes with alloy wheels and LED tail lamps. Inside, the new Thar comes with a new and much more premium cabin, which is entirely washable. The SUV also gets better cabin insulation, roof-mounted speakers, and forward-facing rear seats with 3-point seat belts for all passengers, and a 7-inch touchscreen display with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The new Thar now gets the option of both a petrol and a diesel engine. The former is a 2-litre M-Stallion turbo petrol engine that makes 150 brake horsepower and 320 Nm of peak torque. The diesel option gets a 2.2-litre M-Hawk unit that makes 130 brake horsepower and 300 Nm of peak torque. Both get a 6-speed manual and an optional 6-speed automatic torque converter unit. The new Gen Mahindra Thar has proven to be a well-rounded SUV that can continue to keep the off-road enthusiasts excited and at the same time appeal to those who are looking for a comfortable city SUV with character, making it a suitable choice for the 2021 Car and Bike Viewers' Choice Awards category. The India of the future is smart and connected, and so are the cars from Tata Motors. The company introduced its new connected car technology in 2020, IRA, or Intelligent Real-Time Assist, with a host of new connectivity options designed for the Indian roads. The new connected car platform brings features like geofencing, car locator, intrusion alert, and more, all connected via the Tribes app on your smartphone. With its natural voice recognition system, IRA understands you and all your quirks, keeping your conversations with the infotainment system in English, Hindi, and even Hinglish.
Altroz AC बंद कर दो.
जरूर एसी बंद कर दिया है.
Yes, it is Desi at heart. Adjust the climate control, change the volume, or answer calls without being distracted while driving. Tata's new connected platform is safe, convenient, and adds to the driving experience. And we can't wait to see it on more Tata cars in the future. Nissan's very first subcompact SUV has made its global debut in India. And this is a big step for the Japanese car maker because it enters a very competitive and growing segment. And yes, it's big on tech. At the center sits the two big displays. The first big one is here for the speedometer. It's a 7-inch TFT panel which has great colors and a lot is going on. It lights up with a very cool animation which shows the car itself. It will give you fuel economy, some figures about that, then it will even tell you how you have been driving the car in, give you some analytics to how to drive it a little more efficiently. With one more button click, it will give you the standard trip computer and then it will also give you information about the tire pressure. Then there's a big 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system as well. It's got no navigation system because it's fully dependent on Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But it does an industry first out here for each segment. It is doing wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Apart from this, through the Nissan Connect application, users can leverage smart car functionality. It's pretty similar to what's available via other brands. It works via an eSIM that enables geofencing, telematics, and also SOS and servicing functionality. We'll get to test that aspect very soon. It should also be noted that the car can't connect to multiple Bluetooth devices in one go. But regardless, the Magnite is probably the most feature-packed car Nissan has brought to India to date. And we can't wait to get to know it better. electric scooters today are becoming more and more common. The new Ather 450X has set a benchmark in performance and features. And now, we also have mainstream manufacturers like Bajaj going electric. And Bajaj has revived its Chetak name in electric scooter form.
The future of two-wheelers is going to be electric, green and clean. And we have the Ather 450, and now that's the Ather 450X, which has created a segment benchmark. We also have this Bajaj Autos come back into the scooter space with a new Chetak electric. So we'll see today, how does this compare to the benchmark in the electric scooter space?
The Ather 450X has sharp lines and segment-best underseat storage. It's a modern-looking scooter with a futuristic shape and comes loaded with features. It has a TFT screen with Bluetooth connectivity and a new Android-based interface which displays ride statistics, incoming calls, and also offers remote monitoring and over-the-air updates. The Chetak has a more conventional design, but fit and finish is superb, and it's a handsome looking thing. Every small detail is finished in high quality, down to the soft touch switches. The instrument console is digital, but it isn't as high-tech or comprehensive as the Athers. The Chetak is also the heaviest scooter with metal body panels. On the move, it's immediately apparent which scooter has more performance. In the new Warp mode, the Ather 450X surges ahead with urgency and will top out at 85 km per hour. More than enough for quick dashes in and around the city. But the sitting position is somewhat of a compromise, with knees bent slightly over the high footboard. And over speed breakers and potholes, the Ather's ride feels harsh. The Chetak actually feels conventional too. Everything about it is easy, though it's no sprinter compared to the Ather 450X. Unlike the Ather, the Chetak's low end isn't so urgent, but the mid-range is strong enough to keep up with other traffic. It's only at the top end where the Chetak disappoints, topping off at just 70 km per hour. But where the Chetak scores is in its easy rideability and nicely balanced ride quality.
So if you're looking for an answer, which one is the better scooter, there's no definite answer to that, because they're both very good scooters. Of course, the Chetak comes at a lower price point and it's the more affordable scooter. Design is more conventional, and overall I find this the more comfortable scooter because the riding position is very nice, ride quality is very good, and overall it's the more comfortable scooter to ride. But if you look at features and performance, it's the Ather which trumps the Chetak. It's got more performance and its styling is of course more avant-garde than the conventional looking Chetak, and it's got more features. It's got built-in navigation here, you get over-the-air updates, a whole lot of features really on the Ather. And more importantly, if you're a performance freak, this one will go up to 85 km per hour, whereas the Chetak will do only about 70 km per hour. Range-wise, both of them more or less equally matched, but like I said, different price points, different customers, so both good scooters depends on what your choice is.
Eventually, it will boil down to pricing and where these scooters are currently available or will be available. The Chetak is the less expensive of the two, with prices beginning at 1,15,000 rupees ex-showroom. The Ather 450X is at least 20,000 rupees more expensive, depending on the subscription pack, which changes its performance and range too, with the top spec X costing around 1,60,000 rupees.
It is a wrap here on CNB. As always, we love hearing from you. You can follow us on social media, and remember to also get all the updates for everything auto on carandbike.com. Take care. Please wear your seatbelts. Bye-bye.